Hey Madison, so I wanted to go over the quiz you're having issues with. So the objectives for this quiz were to correct the vague pronouns or use correct vague pronouns, identify different types of pronouns with personal, possessive, reflexive, intensive, and reciprocal. You missed both questions over that, so I'm going to go over those types of pronouns again. And then to recognize inappropriate shifts in pronoun, person, number, and case. So using the wrong either case or whatever pronoun that's supposed to shift within the sentence. Had some issues with that. So let's go over the types of pronouns that you're asked about on the quiz. So the ones on the quiz are personal, possessive, reflexive, intensive, and reciprocal. They're not worried about indefinite and interrogative. So personal are, you've probably heard this a long time. I, you, he, she, it, we, they, who. They're just replacing the noun. So we can say Madison took a quiz today, or we can say she took a quiz today. So instead of using Madison, who is our subject of the noun, we can change it with personal pronouns. She took a quiz today. Those are broken up into cases. So, like, if you're using the first person singular, the subjective case is I. So, I went to the store. Objective case is if you're the object. So, if someone's giving something to you, you're the object in the sentence. She gave the suitcase to me. Well, you are not the subject anymore. You're the object, because who gave you the suitcase? She did. She gave it to who? Me. You're the object then. Okay, so I don't think this quiz asks about those, but I wanted to make sure you understood why there's different cases. But we do have reflexive, intensive, and reciprocal. So I want to talk about that for a second. Possessive, that represents a noun and tells us who owns it. So yours, mine, his, hers, ours, and theirs. Whenever you talk about possession, that says that's who owns the thing. All right, so I don't really think you had problems with that on the quiz, but just wanted to go over that again. Relative is not on your quizzes. Reciprocal are. Okay, so every time you see reciprocal pronouns, you're pretty much going to see each other and one another. That means that whatever feeling is spoken about in the sentence can be reciprocated by someone else. And when we use those pronouns, it's each other, another, one another. They liked each other. So each person can reciprocate that feelings. They talk to each other. They like one another. They gave each other a hug. That can be reciprocated. Each person can give it. That's what reciprocal means. Okay, so if you see each other, another, one another, they spoke to one another, that can reciprocate. Okay, reflexive. This is talking about, it refers to another noun or pronoun in the sentence. So, I gave myself. Well, myself is referring to another noun. I. So, I gave myself. Myself is referring to another noun in the sentence. Did you give yourself a massage for your birthday? Well, yourself is really talking about the you in the sentence. So it refers to another noun or pronoun. Are you talking to yourself? Yourself, it refers back to the pronoun you. So that's what reflexive means. Okay? Alright, so that's going back over those pronouns. Now let's look at how you kind of got them mixed up on the quiz. Pause this for a second. Okay, so you got the first question right. Let's look at the second one. Alright, they should have divided the duties more equally among themselves. And then we have to decide which case. Now you picked reciprocal. All right, so reciprocal means, remember when we talked about each other, one another, that means you reciprocate the, like, whatever's happening or going on. But this says they should have divided the duties more equally among themselves. Who does themselves, are they reciprocating something, or are they referring as themselves, referring back to they? Remember that the reflexive is when yourself, myself, themselves, when it refers back to another noun in the sentence. Reciprocal is like we gave it to each other. Each other is not, it's that we can reciprocate those feelings. They're not reciprocating anything here. Themselves is standing for they. Who divided the duties more equally, or who should have? Themselves, they. So themselves, ourself, myself. If you want to write yourself a little list, those are reflexive. If you had each other, one another, then that's reciprocal. I know that's kind of because they both have that prefix of re, so you might want to kind of jot that down while you're taking the quiz. All right, the president himself made an appearance at the company picnic. Sorry, I realized when I was going over your pronouns that I had skipped one. So intensive or emphatic pronouns. Now, this is kind of confusing because it looks very similar to reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns can both be myself, yourself. You see they look the same. Except an intensive pronoun, sometimes called emphatic, it is emphasizing the thing that is carrying out the action. This is going to get confusing a little bit. So whoever, like John bakes the bread, who did? Himself. He does it just back to John. The cat itself opened the door. So it's emphasizing. I'm trying to think of a good way to understand the difference. It's really saying and emphasizing this is the person who's doing the action and they're doing it all by themselves. Okay? He was here. Madison finished the quiz by herself. No one else helped her. It's emphasizing that is who completed the action. Okay? So let's go back. Reflexive and intensive. That makes sense that you would miss that because they're very similar. However, this says the president himself. It does replace the president, so it could be reflexive, except it is letting you know that who did it? Himself. He is who did the action. He made an appearance at the company picnic. Okay, so in that case, it's intensive. That one's kind of tricky. So if we can get these others correct, and we maybe miss one between the reflexive and intensive, then that would be okay. We've just got to make sure we get these others correct. Okay? All right, next one. Joe kept pace with his brother as they were running around the track until he became too tired and had to stop. Vague pronouns, that means that, like, a pronoun can replace. So you use he, she, but if it's vague, it's hard to understand what noun you're talking about or which pronoun or which noun that pronoun is replacing. Okay? So this says, which sentences correct the vague pronoun problem in the sentence? So which ones are correct? Which ones don't have vague pronoun issues? Let's look at this one that is vague, has an issue. He kept pace with his brother as they were running around the track until he became too tired and had to stop. Well, who is he? We don't know who he is because we're never given the actual name of the noun. And that's going to be vague. We don't know who is doing the action. But look at this one. Until Joe became too tired and had to stop, he, who's he? He's Joe, because my pronoun is right after I've named my noun. He kept pace with his brother and as they were running around the track. So I know who Joe is. I know who he is. He is referring to Joe because it's closest to Joe. And I know who the brother is because the brother's named down here. And then they, which is another pronoun, is referring to Joe and his brother, and I know who they both are. Okay? Joe kept pace with him as they were running around the track until he became too tired and had to stop. Well, I know who Joe is, and then I have pace with him. Well, who's him? Is him Joe? Is him his brother? It's never named. You need to name your pronoun before you use the noun, before you use the pronoun, so it's not vague. Let's look at the one you chose as a correct sentence. Until he became too tired and had to stop, he kept pace with his brother as they were running around the track. Well, if this named my noun, that would be correct, but I'd never get a name, or I never name who my noun is, so the pronoun is vague. I don't know who we're talking about. Until his brother became too tired and had to stop, Joe, I'm named, Joe kept pace with him as they were running around the track. So there's my noun. His brother, his is referring to Joe. Joe kept pace with him, who's him, the brother, as they is the brother and Joe, were running around the track. Because I have Joe named here, this would be your correct pronoun. I don't have a vague issue. Okay? Alright, next one you missed was 7. Sabrina and I were excited for the opening of the new bakery. The donuts we bought were the best us had ever tasted. Alright, so this is wanting to know what does it not match? What's wrong? Okay, so it would be we, and it's not person and number, it's case. We want to know, if you go back to what I was talking about earlier about case, this would be like, is it first person? Is it, what case is it? Because this is using the wrong case. It's saying us. It should be we. Okay? And that's a question of case. Let's go down to 9. I'm also going to send you the link to the website that kind of lines it out for you about pronouns. Alright, so this sentence, each of the customers received its own souvenir cup and t-shirt. Choose the sentence that corrects the pronoun shift. Alright, so there's a shift. There's a shift here. Each of the customers received its. Alright, here's why. Each means that you've got more than one person receiving their own souvenir cup and t-shirt. There's more than one, each of the customers. So it would not be, because each of the customers, your customers here is plural, that whenever you use each, you're still thinking of it as plural. So I have to recognize that we have a pronoun shift. Each of the customers. Then here I've got to indicate that I have more than one customer. It indicates that I only have one customer. If this said the dog received its, that would work because there's only one dog. Also, customers are human people. When we have human people, we say his or her. We don't say its. If there's an object or like animals, we can use it to say the dog lost its bone. But if we say the girl, we would say the girl lost her bone. Or they, one of the children lost his or her. Okay, so if you have each, and we don't know, we have male and female, and you say each of the customers, it's plural, you would say received his or her own souvenir cup, because we don't know if they're male or female, and we're not an object, so we can't say its. Okay, humans always, it's his or her. Okay? All right, and the last question. No one could believe their luck when the owner of the restaurant offered free dessert to all. Okay, so here we have the reason why there doesn't work. No one, okay, no one, that's singular. We're talking about individual people here. So no one has to be thought of as each person. There is if you have a group. All right, so if you had a group of people, you can say there. If you have like singular each one, you would say no one could believe his or her luck. And that is indicating how many people there are. There is if you have a group of people, but no one, it's just like that other one where we looked at each one. No one, you're looking at one singular person. So that means you would say his or her luck when the owner of the restaurant. If this said they, then you could use their, because they is talking about one group, and that's talking about number. How many people are there in that group? All right, so I'm going to send you a link to this video, and then I'm also going to send you a link to the grammar lesson so you can go back over it in case you need to before you retake the quiz, and then I think you'll be good. I'll email Mr. Pope to open the quiz for you. Let me know if you need anything else. Thanks, Madison.